One of Rockstar Games' greatest strengths is their ability to create non-playable characters that have rich backstories and deep arcs. Even in the older Grand Theft Auto games, players could find NPCs with enticing backstories and twisted secrets. While many of these characters can only be found outside the main storyline, the encounters players have with them bring depth and detail to a world filled with brutal, never-ending trials and tribulations. Once the player starts to truly explore every nook and cranny of Red Dead Redemption 2's gorgeously detailed world, they will uncover its horrific underbelly of psychotic cults, ghosts, mad scientists, time travelers, and several satanic stand-ins, each unleashing their personal horrors upon the world. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 Red Dead Redemption 2 NPCs with disturbing secrets. Number 10. The Cave Hermit. In the top northwestern corner of West Elizabeth, players can stumble upon an apparently unassuming cave entrance. If the player heads inside the cave, they slowly realize that it's much creepier than most normal dank caves in America, as they uncover several twisted cave paintings and some ominous hanging lights. At the end of the cave's winding tunnel system, the player is greeted by a man who claims that he is the devil. The man quickly confesses he isn't the devil, but he wishes he was. The hermit speaks with the player several times over several in-game days, divulging a little bit more about who he is and why he spends all his time living alone in a cave. As it's explained by the end of his confessions, it turns out this cave hermit is actually a philosopher who tried to teach his lessons at several high-class universities. However, after most of his philosophical ideas were rejected and a woman he had feelings for turned him down, the philosopher rejected humanity and went to live alone and as remotely as he could, going insane from the lack of sunlight and isolation. Number 9. Gertrude Braithwaite. Gertrude Braithwaite is one of the most terrifying encounters in the game that can be easily missed if players aren't looking around Braithwaite Manor for her. She can be found locked inside an outhouse close to the manor, but even then, her story takes some time to fully uncover. The outhouse itself is completely chained up from the outside, with only a small hole to look through. That hole is where the player can come face to face with Gertrude, who can cause quite a scare when first approached, as she jumps out at the player screaming all sorts of obscenities and clawing to get out. During a story mission where the player is helping Penelope Braithwaite escape, they can take her to the outhouse where she reveals that Gertrude is actually a member of the Braithwaite family. However, her cousin was locked up by the family due to their history of incest, which resulted in Gertrude's mental instability and deformities. The player sadly can't do anything to free Gertrude, no matter how hard they try, and if the player chooses to return to the outhouse during the game's epilogue, they can find her skeleton still locked inside. This sadly means that she starved to death inside her tiny prison due to her family members all being killed by the player. Number 8. The Manzanita Outpost Ranches. The Manzanita Outpost is one of the smallest outposts in the game, with nothing more than a few tents and a couple of houses. The residents of Manzanita are mostly Norwegian immigrants, and while they seem to be some of the nicest people in the Wild West, their secrets are quite the opposite. If the player loots the home of a seemingly sweet Norwegian couple, they'll find a hidden picture in the floorboards and a handwritten note in the chimney. On the back of the photo is written the word "urin," which means impure, while the note seems to have been written by the woman of the cabin. In her letter, the woman reveals her guilt over something done to someone. The final piece of the puzzle can be found on a scrap of newspaper that has to be looted from the man living in the cabin. In the newspaper, the player reads that the people who live in Manzanita are actually an overzealous religious cult, who all participated in the murder of an entire family. Their reasons for killing the family were purely racist, as the patriarch of the deceased family was from North America, and thus was perceived to be impure by the ranchers. The man, his wife, and their child were murdered on orders of the leader of the cult because of their mixed race relationship and a child. Suffice it to say, this shocking discovery absolutely breaks that calming, peaceful facade that you originally have when you first meet the ranchers. Number 7. EUGENE WEGNER. EUGENE WEGNER is an NPC that doesn't show up in a mission, but has a dark secret that can be uncovered if the player chooses to investigate. While wandering around the ranch, the farmhands will gossip about Eugene's daughter Miriam, who at first can't be found anywhere on the ranch. However, if the player takes the time to look up at Eugene's second-story window in the middle of the night, you'll see Miriam staring back at you. After more time spent investigating, the player will be able to uncover a tale of star-crossed lovers and murder. It turns out that poor Miriam fell in love with one of the father's ranch hands. When Eugene found out, he killed the boy in a shooting accident and locked his daughter inside his home so she couldn't tell anyone. Unfortunately, there's no way to rescue Miriam even if the player finds out the truth. Even simply killing Eugene doesn't seem to be able to release Miriam from her horrifying prison. So sadly, she is forever trapped in her house all alone and with a broken heart. Number 6. Nigel. Nigel is an NPC who will randomly spawn in several towns shouting out for his best friend, who is simply known as Gavin. If the player interacts with Nigel, he will talk about searching for his friend for years and give a few descriptors. Now, the mystery of Nigel and Gavin was one of the biggest in Red Dead Redemption. Nobody seemed to have any idea where this was going or how to solve it all, until a video from Strange Man. Here, a pretty solid theory was proposed. If the player loots Nigel, they'll find a letter from his other friend Tom, who writes about how excited he is that Nigel and Gavin have become rich and successful after leaving England for America. In the letter, there are several indications that Nigel seems to have had some sort of dissociative identity disorder. In the letter, Tom talks about Gavin and Nigel's mother as the same person, mentions how Nigel would pretend to be someone from London, where Gavin is allegedly from, and even how a man talked with Tom about some odd things regarding Nigel. These lines in the letter seem to suggest that Nigel is simply searching all over the map for himself. Number 5. Bray and Tammy ABERDEEN. The ABERDEEN family is a pair of pig farmers who live out in the middle of nowhere. This extremely disturbing couple can be easily missed by the player unless they accidentally stumble upon them. At first, they seem like a pretty odd couple, but they're fairly sincere and nice enough to the player. But of course, like most things in the Wild West, the couple is not at all what they appear to be. If the player takes a sip of either the drink or the soup they were offered by the family, they'll receive quite the shock as the pair's deceitful side is revealed. After drinking anything offered to them, the player will be knocked out, robbed, and dumped in a mass grave filled with the rotting corpses of several other unfortunate travelers, only a few feet from the ABERDEEN home. After regaining consciousness and creeping back to the ABERDEEN home, you can find out this lovely couple are actually siblings. Because of course they are. The pair seem to have been robbing and killing people ever since they killed their own mother, and will certainly not be missed when the player gets their revenge either instantly or later in the game's epilogue. Number 4. AGNES DOWD. Ghosts are surprisingly common in Rockstar games. AGNES DOWD is an exception to most of the ghouls and spirits players can encounter though, as she'll actually speak to the player, even if it's not directly. Players can encounter the ghost of Agnes multiple times within the swamps of Lemoyne, and each time you see her, these one-sided conversations reveal a little more about how she died. In another theory proposed by Strange Man, it is revealed that she was the daughter of a rich family and fell in love with a man who was married to another woman. Agnes and her lover had a child together, but the man left her and their child to go back to his wife. Agnes abandons her child so she can be with the man who left her, infuriating Agnes's father to the point where he confronts the man, shooting him dead. Agnes then possibly killed her own father and her lover's wife, and ultimately hung herself on the tree that her lover and her used to meet under. Hearing Agnes's tragic tale from her own mouth, especially near the end, is completely disturbing, as she was so calm when she killed herself, hoping her spirit and her lovers would be together forever, leaving her child without either of his parents to raise him. Number 3. The RHODES Gunsmith. Although the gunsmith in the small idyllic town of Rhodes seems to be a relatively upstanding citizen, it can quickly be revealed that he holds a dark secret literally in his basement. As the players wander around town, they can hear other characters whispering about the gunsmith and the death of his son, which already sounds pretty ominous before you even get near the shop. Looking at the shop from a distance, they might be able to see a small barred up window near the ground that can be easily missed. If they get close enough to the window, a hand will reach out and grab the player, begging for help. The player can then enter the gun shop and threaten the store owner to take them to the basement, where they will discover a young boy chained to a bed in a sailor outfit. The player then learns that the store owner's own son was drowned after falling into a river while trying to learn to shoot a rifle with him. The store owner, in his grief and obvious madness, then decided to kidnap a random teenager and dress him up as his son, pretending that the boy didn't die at all. Number 2. Silas CRAWFORD. While wandering around the rundown town of Van Horn Trading Post, the player can be approached by a strange man after picking up a missing child poster. This stranger reveals himself to be a private investigator working for the ruling family of the incredibly small European country Luxembourg. The investigator is looking for the royal's daughter, Isabeau Katharina Zinsmeister, who went missing almost a decade earlier. The mystery of the missing princess can be solved rather easily by walking into Silas Crawford's illegal fencing store and discovering a luggage trunk that has the initials of the missing princess engraved on it. Crawford's adorable dog even tries to help the player by whining towards the upstairs area, indicating someone is living up there. The player can even hear footsteps creaking on the wooden floor, making it clear to the player that she is in the upstairs attic of Crawford's store. Even if the player absolutely knows this for sure, unfortunately, there's no way of actually rescuing her, even if you take out Crawford. Silas's reasons for holding a European princess captive for almost 10 years are also never made clear, although the implications alone make it out to be incredibly sinister. Number 1. The Mad Preacher. John the Mad Preacher can be found in 4 different rivers throughout Red Dead Redemption 2's map, and each time you encounter him, he's shouting out to God asking for some signal or reason for his existence. The player can talk with this NPC, who is meant to be a reference to John the Baptist, and discovers that the Mad Preacher is actually one of the most disturbing NPCs of all time. According to Strange Man, the preacher isn't actually talking to God. In actuality, John might be shouting at Sam Houser, the president of Rockstar. Yes, that's right, John the Mad Preacher may actually be an NPC who's become self-aware and went insane trying to figure out why he was literally created and placed inside the world of Red Dead Redemption 2. There are a bunch of small indications that John is self-aware, such as the way that he reacts to other NPCs and seems to understand that they're programmed. Another is how the Mad Preacher believes the player's character may actually be the signal from God he's been waiting for. John the Mad Preacher is essentially a Westworld-esque host who realized their reality is not what it seems. And that itself is always a terrifying thought when you're playing a game where you can do anything you want without consequences. That's the end of our list, but if you can think of any other Red Dead Redemption 2 NPCs with disturbing secrets that we may not have mentioned, make sure that you pop them down in that comment section. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.